this is Rachel Rakovan, and you are now watching Supply Chain Innovators. Thank you for joining us today. I am with GreenPath Tech and Trucking Tower, and what we do is help companies to reduce their overall net spend on their fuel, anywhere between 10 to 23%. And we have a money-back guarantee, and we also are EPA certified. So we're doing this for fleets and maritime and all different industries, oil and gas, all across the United States. So definitely get in touch with us. And we are also here to talk to Hutch. He goes by Scott Hutchings, right? He is the Director of Government Affairs, which sounds like a really cool title, for waste management, of all things. I've actually been a waste and recycling optimization specialist for the past several years now. So I can say that I am more excited about this show than I have been about any other show. So I do a couple different things, GreenPath Tech, and then I work with waste and recycling too. But anyway, so that's enough about me. We're going to talk about Hutch. And Hutch, do you want to tell us a little bit about what it is that you're doing for waste management, what your role is there?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Scott Hutchings, go by Hutch. I do government affairs, as you mentioned. I cover most of the West, so I have the four corner states and a little part of Texas, which makes me very busy geographically. We got a lot of interesting things going on out West, a lot of policies and ideas from legislators and cities that are coming into play that WM is a part of and trying to help kind of be a leader in our industry. And I really spend a lot of time with elected officials or out and about at conferences, talking to folks, engaging with them. Because, it's funny, our industry is one of those, you don't really think about us until we've either missed a pickup or we're not there. And that's when you think about us. Otherwise, it's kind of, you put it out on the corner and you pick it back up and the magic happens. And so I remind people sometimes of the logistics around it, the fleets that, the employees, all those things that it takes to be North America's. So WM is North America's largest waste and recycling provider.
Right, I know. And like I said, we're really, really blessed to be able to have you on the show today. And what you're doing in supply chain and with sustainability is really amazing. And you're a leader in the realm of supply chain, in the realm of waste transport and diversion. And we're going to get to that here in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so first I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, waste management, what you're doing in the trucking industry, just some general stuff.
Yeah. I think first and foremost, the biggest thing is WM operates the largest fleet of Class 8 heavy-duty vehicles in North America. And we have been committed for over 30 years now to working on alternative fuel options, so compressed natural gas and renewable natural gas. And right now, about 60% of our fleet is actually either compressed or renewable natural gas. So that's the big thing I like to talk about. Also, we have one of the largest, as we call it, a yellow iron fleet in the country, and that's all the Caterpillar equipment, the stuff that you see on the face of the landfill or in our transfer and recycling centers, moving all that material around. But yeah, we're pretty proud of the leadership role we've taken in moving to these alternative fuels and converting a very big fleet of these vehicles that go into neighborhoods every day. Those trash trucks are driving around, and we're reducing those greenhouse gas emissions by a very large amount by just converting them to CNG and RNG.
Wow, that's so amazing. I think that's really a great technology. I didn't see that specifically on the website. Was that listed on your website?
I think it should be. It should be in some of our.
If it's not, somebody needs to put it on there, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, yeah. So tell me a little bit about how else you've streamlined this waste and recycling process. I know that you said that you're reducing emissions. Well, that's outstanding. I
Yeah.
think you have some different types of technology that you've come across and implemented that nobody else has too, right?
Yeah, for sure. We're very focused on a couple things. The RNG that I talked about, that's renewable natural gas. That's the gas that
Mhm.
comes off of a landfill, the methane gas very bad for the environment. We figured out a way to capture it. And right now we can turn a lot of it to electricity and then put it back on the grid and power homes. But we now are taking it to the next step where we can clean it and turn it into a fuel where we can fuel our trucks. You can use fuel for homes. We're investing almost $1 billion right now in trying to build these plants and get them on our landfills because it's such a win-win. Less of that greenhouse gas coming out. We're reusing this gas and getting it right on the pipeline to people who need it. So that's something we're very excited about. One of the projects we talk about is a landfill in California where we actually power our trash trucks off of the landfill. They come in at the end of the day, that gas is cleaned and it's put right back in the trucks. It's a pretty exciting process.
Yeah, so that's almost like one of the zero impact
Yeah.
initiatives that I've either been involved in or read about. And I think that that's really, really a noble deed that you're doing there. Now,
Yeah.
I think you guys are like waste heroes.
Well, thank you. Yeah, for us too, it makes
Waste
sense.
management, waste heroes,
Yeah, yeah. Well, we
So,
have our own sustainability goals. We're pretty proud about leading our industry and
mhm.
setting some sustainability goals. On top of the fact, our customers continue to have more and more sustainability goals that we want to try and help them reach. And so that's one of the reasons why we do this. I think it's part of being a leader.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys are definitely fulfilling that role. And I think that what you're doing is just amazing. I mean, all of the technology, all the initiatives, and the fact that you're actually implementing them. So I
Yeah.
see some companies that are like, well, let's have this idea by 2030 and, or maybe this idea by 2050 and, it never happens. And they're like, well, why did that not happen? I don't know.
Yeah.
Some
Or
kind of things
I
happen in
would
the
tell
middle.
you, Rachel, yeah, I would tell you in my world, Rachel, I'm frustrated with elected officials or policymakers who do the opposite and they say, hey, you need to achieve this by
I
two
don't tell you
years
how.
from now. Yeah, and there's no way to do it. There's
You
literally
go
like
figure that out.
right. That's a lot of my job is like just saying, well, let me tell you what reality is here. I know you think that you can do that, but here's what it would take. Here's here's the infrastructure needed. I think that's one of the things about electric trash trucks that, you're hearing a lot about in the news. It's just a
Yeah.
long way away. We're investing in them. We're looking at them. I know we have a test truck here in Colorado where I am. It's still though just a long way away, but we've got states and elected officials who are putting these mandates in effect that are coming way too fast. And so that I would say that's frustrating. It's not that we're not engaged and interested, it's that we've got to have time to build it up.
And I totally agree with you there. And I've had the same conversation with Andy Hedrick, who is our CEO at Trucking Tower and Green Path Tech. I personally don't believe that we're there with electric vehicles and these batteries. I mean, where are we getting this lithium from? We're mining it. We're having children mine it in other countries. And then, the batteries are only lasting a few years, 10 years, something like that. And then what can we do with them afterwards? We can't recycle them. We can't dispose of them in a sustainable way. So how can we say that this is truly sustainable when we're enslaving people to extract lithium internationally? So that's just my personal opinion on that. Nobody has to agree with me that, electric vehicles are not really the best solution for us right now, but that's my opinion. So this does not reflect the opinion of other people. That I work with. But anyway, so yeah, I totally agree with you about the mandates. I think that it's great that we have some people that, are pushing those initiatives. But as far as coming up with the strategy to achieve them, you have to have other, I'm an environmental scientist myself, and I am certified in Resource Conservation and Recovery Act and also in
Yeah.
energy and technology and green business. So I've been in this field for a long time, and I can tell you that a lot of times it comes down to how is this actually possible? Can we get the science to be feasible? And is it going to be something that we can still make a profit and continue to run, So that's what people are not taking into consideration that, you guys have to pay for your trucks, you have to pay for the maintenance, you have to pay for all of those things as well as the fuel. And it's not
Well,
just
as our shareholders, and we have to
it's
answer to our shareholders and yes, and
your
continue to
overhead
do.
is here,
Yes,
So
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
yeah. And so we've got to try to make it where we can all work together on this and try to get to these initiatives. But anyway, so I know those are definitely some things that differentiate you. Those are some mandates that, could be hurdles that we talked about already. But I think that there are some other ways that we could change those mandates. Maybe in your opinion, could you give me some examples of how it is that you would change those to be better suiting to waste management or the industry at large?
Yeah, I would say for, trucking at large, like the clean fleet rule coming out of California,
Mhm.
Colorado is doing the same thing those other
Yeah,
states have
Oregon
done.
too.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
once again, truly, I think it's sometimes as simple as you've got to have a longer ramp to make this thing happen. And it's just, it's so small. I mean, I don't have, Rachel, like real specifics, like change this or that, but it's just realistic timelines on what it's going to look like. And the forcing of selling only electric vehicles for some of the dealers. That's one of the things in Colorado now. A certain percentage of the trucks have to be electric that's sold. Well, what you hear is a lot of companies will just go to Wyoming, which is only, from
Yeah,
the metro Denver area where I live, it's only an hour and a half, and they can
yeah.
go their truck over there where it's not. So it's those type of things where you're just not thinking it through well enough. And that's, we try, once again, that's why I do what I do and spend time with elected officials to say, yeah, let's figure out a solution together, and I'll try and help get you there. But there's got to be some realistic timelines and timeframes.
Sure. And then not to mention all the loopholes, right? So
Right,
it's not just
right.
sure we can implement. That's what I was looking at the I'm not going to name any names, but some organizations in California. And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was like, well, if you're, this local truck, then you're exempt. If you're over the road truck, you have to be, required to have this renewable fuel. And then if you are, during certain bad weather periods in, Denver, for instance, or Colorado, then they would have exemptions over there. Just all kinds of different loopholes that you can look at. And really, if you just fill out the paperwork, it's like you could fill it out forever and eventually not have to ever meet anything, right?
right.
Right. So then what's the point in having the mandate in the first place if only like the government, associated organizations have to, abide by it. So really you're just saying, you know, just these guys over here have to do it.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think sometimes nowadays, the way, our politics have gotten, so if this side's for it, the other side has to be against it. And I'm always trying to bring everybody in the room to talk about it and work together. Some of the best regulations, I've been at this 16 years at WM, and before that, a very long time working for elected officials. Sometimes the best solutions take a long time, and they take all the stakeholders in the room to get through it. And it's a tough process. And I think people are used to, as I call it, fast food government. They want it to just be handled right now and taken care of right now, or they want you to go from X to Y very quickly. And that's not the way good policy is made.
No. Well, I don't think fast solutions are ever the best solution.
No.
When
Yeah,
you're trying
right.
to rush into something, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I had to hurry up and buy a house, and then I kind of got one that was just okay. And then I was like, I wish I had more time. And,
Yeah.
but that's another story for another day. Um, what are the greatest challenges that you have been facing? Maybe it's the mandates, maybe it's something else, but in waste transport, storage, disposal, what can you say is, the thing that you're always facing that you're trying to get ahead of?
Yeah, and I would tell you, I can really only talk from my kind of perspective of government affairs and what we're looking at. A lot of it is, once again, these mandates with the unrealistic timelines to getting them implemented. I would say the other thing is we're seeing the rise of a policy called extended producer responsibility, EPR, that mandates that every package that is sold in the state that's either plastic or cardboard is recycled, and it's on the producer to make sure it's recycled. So
Mm.
if you're selling a Barbie doll, Mattel Toys, you're now responsible for proving that your package was recycled. It's going to be the way, I mean, it works in Europe, and there's 17 other states that have looked at it. There's 5 now that are trying to implement it. So it's kind of the future, but it's a very, it's going to be somewhat of a disruptor for us in trying to figure out how to work through this system as it gets put together. So I'd say that's a big one for me. And that's just what I spend a lot of my time working on right now, because Colorado is the leader in the country on it. We have the bill that's in law now since 22, and we're looking to start implementation next year. And so it's going to be interesting to see what it does. And it's because people want to recycle more, and they feel like this is one way you can really push that recycling rate up, is if you mandate that the packages have to be recycled.
Well, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm just going to say this one thing that you could fit, all of Europe in the US multiple times. So it's a little easier to implement
Right.
these processes in when you've got a country that you can get through in an hour and a half. So
Yeah. And
big
I think too,
country.
and I think they've been at it so much longer, right? Because they didn't have the space for landfills like we do. And so they've been forced to do it. And they have, the cool part about Europe is, right, they have enforcement mechanisms. They have people who go in and audit. And that's one of the things when all these like new rules come out, and we've just seen lots of them, it's the lack of enforcement that happens as well. Like there's just not enough people when they pass whatever it is. Then my question is always, well, how are you enforcing it? And that's where the governments or whoever, whether it's county, state, or local, they have a hard time. And so that's another thing. Like if we're going to do these things, let's make sure that we've got the staff and the people to make it happen. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're slowing us down. And the other thing is we're the largest in our industry. We're very proud of it, but that means we're the biggest target as well, right? And so
You you
it's the
got a
easy,
target on your back.
yeah, yeah. So it's easy to come find us versus all the little guys or other people. Yeah, you got it. You got it. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I understand. No, I feel that way sometimes myself. Whenever you really are working hard towards something, you also are drawing a lot of attention toward yourself.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that in certain areas they call that drawing, you're drawing attention to yourself, but it's
Yeah.
actually a good thing, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, and any other stories on sustainability that you want to share with us? I know that you guys have done so much. You could probably, pick a couple and
I would just talk a little bit more. So in our renewable energy, we're putting a lot of money into that, but also into our recycling facilities, and we have
yes.
taken them to this whole new level. I think if you're at all familiar with a recycling facility, a lot of people know it's a hand sort. We've
Yeah.
now integrated robots and have for a while, and we have all this technology in those plants, and we are able to really get those materials recycled and get them pulled off the line, baled in the right way. And we're going to continue to invest heavily in making sure that our recycling equipment is state of the art. And I think that's pretty exciting. It shows, right, that people are a lot more focused on recycling. It happens more and more. And I can see it even out west here in small towns that normally would not ever think about recycling. They're now wanting to recycle, and we're trying to help them with that. And also give them the realities of, listen, we're going to have to do a drop off here. And by drop off, I mean a big like dumpster where it's then going to be trucked into a major city to be sorted and gone through, but it's stuff like that. So I would say our renewable natural gas, the investment there, and then the
Mhm.
investment in our recycling facilities, we're very proud of.
Right. Those are some huge initiatives in sustainability that make, an impact all across the country.
Yeah,
So waste management is also not just in the US now, right?
right.
How many countries are you guys in?
Well, we really service North America, so we're in the
North
US
America.
and Canada. Yeah, and we have
Right.
operations in other places, but the majority of our service is in Canada and North America.
Well, I mean, you're making a huge impact. That's
Yeah.
a lot of space on the globe.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you think
Yeah.
about it visually.
Yeah.
Um, so what are you hiring for any roles right now that you want to talk about or?
Yeah, I would say we are always looking for good drivers. We have two really cool facilities where you basically go. It's like a trash truck driver school, one in Florida, one in Phoenix, and you can practice and learn. It's we kind of started it and we're also proud of that. So we're always looking for drivers, good drivers who have experience, want to, come home at night, who may not be the over the road truckers that you're used to.
Mhm.
So that's one. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, what?
Oh, I said my husband's a local truck driver too.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. And that's
yeah.
very important for people, and we get that. And then the next big one that we're always really after is good mechanics. Like everybody in the trucking industry, that's I know how tough that is. And we're always looking to partner with community colleges and programs, schools, anything to try and get good mechanics because those two jobs, drivers and mechanics, we're always looking for
Sure.
good folks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think truckers, they run the world over here, they make it keep going. That's what that
Yep.
rely on them for everything. And
It's
to
been
say,
one of the yeah, it's been one of the joys in this job that I never thought I would have. I just recently came off, as you know, being chairman of the Colorado Trucking Association, and I've been
oh,
on that board now for 15 years, and I
okay.
just love truckers. They are salt to the earth. They are family
They really
businesses. Yeah, they're just really good people. And
are. Mhm.
it's one of those industries you don't hear a lot about, and you don't think a lot about. And once again, until they're not moving. And it was so great during COVID. If there was anything good out of COVID, it may have been the elevation of these service industries, waste, trucking, nursing, that
Mhm.
really I was proud to be a part of and see the love that came back to our trash truck drivers and our over the road drivers as well. So that's yeah, that's just
Yeah.
I went off on a tangent there, but
Food transport and waste transport, those are the things that we need the most. And as or medical devices as well,
yeah, sure,
medical
right,
services, medical devices, medical
yeah,
equipment.
yeah,
But aside from that, I mean, those are the three main things:
you got it,
food, medicine, and waste, right?
right,
Um,
right,
so without our truckers, we don't have any of them.
that's right.
But yeah, so thank you, truckers. Thank you also to our veterans. My husband's also a veteran, and
Yes.
for all the people that are protecting this wonderful country of ours. And I did want to ask you one more question, Hutch. What advice would you give to other companies that are dealing with waste management diversion as a focus?
I think two things. One, really start basic, start with recycling and do good recycling. And by that, I mean, one of the toughest things we fight is something called wish cycling. So it's like you look at something and you just throw it in the recycling bin and you say, hey, WM will figure it out. They've got the ability to do that. A weird example that I love giving is last year, we received 5,000 bowling balls inside our recycling
Oh,
facilities because people are putting them in their recycling bins. You can't recycle a bowling ball. You can't recycle hoses, Christmas lights, and it really gums up the equipment. And what you need to do is focus on cardboard, plastic, aluminum. And especially aluminum because it is infinitely recyclable. In fact, once you put your Coke, Pepsi can, whatever in that bin, 60
mhm.
days later, that can is back on the shelf and there's no end in sight. So I'm always telling people if you want to start in this, start with really good recycling habits, right?
Yeah.
Get cardboard.
Recycling education. I try to
Yep.
tell, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and then the next is cardboard, right? We
Yeah.
want that cardboard. There's so much cardboard with the rise of Amazon and online shopping that That's the next thing. And we want it clean and fluffy. That's what I always joke about your recycling. Like your dog, we want it like your dog, clean and fluffy. That way it can be sorted and taken care of. And that alone for companies to just start there is a really big starting point. I would say next, then you can look at either composting, getting some of your food out of the waste stream, and then, all the other technologies that are
Right.
available. Yeah.
Well, there's an amazing organization called Sustainable Generation, and what they do is they implement uh, composting technology for municipalities
Oh,
across the United
cool.
States, and also they're in 20 countries. They've got over 400 projects, but they have some really outstanding compost covers. They have ways to divert leaching. They have some really awesome solutions for composting. So
Oh,
if you
super
aren't aware
cool.
of that, definitely take a look at Sustainable Generation and some of their projects that they're doing. They're really outstanding company.
Yeah.
So, but yes, composting, love composting. I can make it, I can lay it. I'm a big gardener. I think it's really
Awesome. It's the best, right?
important.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I mean, and it's so cool. I mean, you can even turn into compost. It's so great what we're doing with all these different things. I mean, people are
Yeah.
using genes and all different types of alternative solutions, and genes
Yep.
in insulation for homes for sustainability. But these are things that get me all excited. I'm not going to keep up everybody's time, but I do
Yeah.
want to say thank you so much, Hutch, for coming on here. Thank you so much, Hutch. It all rhymes. For
Yeah.
coming on the show.
Thank you so much
Really,
for giving me the
really,
opportunity. I really appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to you, Rachel. I appreciate it.
thank
Thanks.
you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I swear this has made my whole July already. So
You too.
seriously, I mean, interviewing waste management, like, wow. Um, that's so great. So I just want to say thank you. And if you want to get in touch with Hutch, you can also do so like through waste management. If you have any questions about what they're doing in governance, I'm sure, right, Hutch? Everybody would.
Absolutely. Any questions, come find me. You can
Right.
come.
We'll find you.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I'm Rachel Rakovan. I'm your Mrs. Pennsylvania Earth USA 2024, competing for Mrs. Earth USA here in a couple of weeks in Orlando. So hopefully you'll, take a listen or a watch for me. And then also I am with Green Path Tech Trucking Tower. Again, what we do is we help companies to save money on their overall net spend for fuel, anywhere between 10 to 23% with a money back guarantee and an EPA certification. So definitely check us out. And thanks so much for joining us. Really happy to have Hutch on the line here today. And hopefully you all learned something. I know I did. Have a good one.